Hello, everyone. I'm Julian Gonzales, and I will be presenting my capstone project today titled Learning to Live in a Changing World, Planning Against the Threats of Extreme Heat Events. Through my work, I interned with Public Health Seattle and King County. With them, I was tasked with creating a web page for preparedness professionals to utilize in the case of an extreme heat event. That web page outlines basic guidance and recommendations to take when preparedness professionals are planning for an extreme heat event on the community level. A little background and context for my project. Climate change has created extreme heat events that impact communities and their ability to prepare against them. These events are projected to continue and become more intense over time, and as climate change is projected to continue and worsen in severity. This will impact the most vulnerable to the effects and can worsen many pre-existing health conditions, create heat illness, and even in severe cases, death. Strategies for jurisdictions to prepare against extreme heat events can vary, but I found out that an overall basis of strategies applies to preparation and mitigation against extreme heat events. The purpose of this research on my project is to understand the strategies best suited to prepare against extreme heat events and how these strategies will help to be better prepared in the future. Like I mentioned, climate change is projected to continue to worsen over time, so really learning how to prepare and be better prepared against its effects is important. This led me to my research question of understanding what are the effective strategies to prepare jurisdictions against extreme heat events. Through this, I've interned with Public Health Seattle and King County. I created a web page for preparedness professionals to utilize in an extreme heat event that's uploaded and ready to go. I communicated with professionals in the field around climate mitigation and best practices that they believe should be implemented on the web page, but also in general in creating preparedness against extreme heat events. And then I finally conducted a literature review of response plans around other jurisdictions in the US and their effectivity and if they actually work. This led me to my results, which I found that the use of extreme heat response plans is actually one of the best strategies to prepare against extreme heat. Through them, it's also important to identify the most vulnerable to extreme heat within the response plans, like those with pre-existing health conditions and those other gaps that lack service in those areas. I also learned that communicating and planning against extreme heat events and how to engage with the community is also important. Telling people what these plans are and also getting community feedback is important, because if there's no community feedback or interaction, the plan won't really serve the community that it's set to be in. And this chart right here outlines public health recommendations, providing just basic guidance around recommendations to implement on the community level to support those most at risk during an extreme heat event. It's outlined by the National Weather Service's heat risk values from a 2 to a 4 based off heat severity and color coded. And then on the right is just basic recommendations and considerations for those specific community events or levels that it might be in. Just how to outline and better be prepared for heat in the case of an extreme heat event in a community. Through my broader significance, I learned that having response plans in place in an extreme heat emergency, like the heat dome that took place in Seattle of summer of 2021, can save lives. Most heat-related risk and mortality and deaths can be prevented, but really learning how to be better planned and prepared against these risks is important. I learned that by identifying the most vulnerable populations, those with pre-existing health conditions, lower income individuals, and outdoor workers, and especially the unhoused, heat response plans can ensure that these populations can help better be prepared in an emergency and better help these individuals that might be impacted more severely. Creating action with community involvement can strengthen relationships between government agencies and individuals. There's already a little bit of lack of trust with government agencies and their guidance to communities or individuals. So really strengthening those bonds can help to trust government agencies and the work they do and the guidance that they create. This web page is also going to serve as a resource for King County to be outlined as other response planning measures. So like it's going to be used for wildfire smoke, extreme cold, and flooding response planning, which is pretty cool. I'd like to give a special thanks to my site supervisor, Julian, for her dedication and willing to teach me so much, my friends and family, and entire cohort throughout this whole journey. Thank you.